Okay, Bruchim Avoim, welcome everyone back to another exciting daf discussions shir. Today we have the schus of having such wonderful chashva guests here. Chief Askin, Rabbi Noda Biyehuda has once again generously agreed to join, and Uncle Henoch agreed to join to eat some tuna fish. And of course, the Rav Shlita, Rabbi Klugman, we'd like to thank him, our sponsor, who has once again generously sponsored this year. Refuah Shalema for what's his name? Nelson Gabriel Ben Chaya, Refuah Shalema. He is the legend who discovered Rapan Kanievsky, correct? It's a different story, not for now, with the income Mokum hierarchy. So anyway, so today we are going to be discussing Yevamot Daf Chavav, about getting divorced. Ishmaka subject, everyone likes divorce. It's a wonderful thing to talk about, it's a hot topic, and it happens to be coming to the daf, so we're going to talk about that. The Gemara talks about Daf Chavav. The Gemara, when the Mishnah mentioned, it was discussing about if a chacham matters a lady, if she's allowed to marry her. It's really not negay so much what the Mishnah was discussing. Al Kapon, the Gemara mentioned over there had a diak that you're allowed to get, if an almana becomes an almin twice, or gets divorced twice, she's allowed to remarry. The Gemara understood the Mishnah like that. In other words, the Gemara understood the Mishnah that a lady could get her husband could die twice, and she get divorced twice. How could it be that if a lady gets married twice and both times her husband died, she's allowed to remarry a third time? Rabbi holds twice is a chazaka, and there's a chazaka, and she's a katalanis, she kills her husband, she shouldn't be able to get remarried. And the Gemara loy misa agerishin of gerushin amisa. The misa, in other words, it's not talking about twice died and twice divorced. It means a lady got married one time her husband got divorced, one time she got divorced, one time she got married, or vice versa. When it says gerushin, it's telling that first she got divorced, first she died, her husband died, then got divorced. Now, so the simple reading of the Gemara would seem the Gemara says misa agerishin of gerushin amisa. In other words, you can have gerushin twice or misa twice. We're have to mishana both cases. It's a little hard to understand. Like I didn't mention the sugya, the Mishnah, but that's what the Gemara is saying. That misa is referring to gerushin and gerushin is referring to misa. In other words, it's mashma. You can have two misas or two gerushins, which would seem that if a lady gets divorced twice, you can't get remarried a third time. That would be the simple reading of the Gemara.
I thought you said gerushin.
The Gemara says misa gerushin. Might make that a kifta. Right, dafka, one of each. But then she's allowed to get remarried. In the Mishnah, she's allowed to get remarried. The Gemara says the only time she's allowed to get remarried if it's one of each. But if it's two of each, either one, she can't get remarried. That's not how Rashi learns. Rashi learns clear that if a lady gets divorced twice, Rashi she's not allowed to get remarried. Now Tosis Miyad and the Chavav argues in Rashi. He says, "I gerushin. I gav misa nokat gerushin. The feeling is gerushin kama pa'amim mishari linase." He says, the Gemara is mashma like Rashi. He just says that's not what the Gemara means. It's agav. So if a lady gets divorced twice, she's allowed to get remarried a third time. There's no issue. Now, why? Because the Gemara later on, I forgot where, somewhere in the Mems or the Nuns, discusses what's the issue of a Katalanis getting married. It's Mayel Goyim or Mazel Goyim, which means Mayel Goyim means she caused physically for the husband to die, so we're afraid that she's going to kill the third husband. Now the other pshat is Mazel Goyim, it's simply her mazel, she has a bad mazel, which pashas that means her mazel is to kill her husband, so he's afraid that she can get remarried, the other guy's going to die. Now, what does that have to do with gerushin? Well, Maya and mazel? Yeah. Mazel is not a physical thing. The nafkamin will be if Maya means pashas when they had
beats him up.
Because Maya means when they had tashmish together, that killed him. That's Maya. Her Maya was goyim, it's a physical.
Oh, it's a physical.
Yeah. So it'd be nafkamin. It's arusa could be the Gemara talks about nafkamin between the two. Now, mazel is not a physical thing, but either way, it's a chashash that she's killing the husband. Where does gerushin come into the picture? What shaykhs? Like Taisa says, what is going on? Why in the world should there be a svara that gerushin should be a problem? Now, the Ritva, he bombs at Rashi. He's like, what's going on over here?
She's a bad mazel. She can't get along.
She has a bad mazel.
She can't get along with the man.
She has a bad mazel. She can't get along. Okay, so let's read the Ritva. They're very simple. Bad mazel. She can't get along. We're afraid she's not going to get along with the third guy. The problem is, so who cares? So she won't get along with the third guy. Is that so bad? Look around. Zok the Ritva.
It's so bad.
The Misa Hushachosh Dilma Mazel Goyim my Mayan Goyim. So come on. The Gerushin less funny Tami. The Yehuda Megarish Labal Karcha. Shein Ha'ish Moitzi Elabert Sinus. His first cash is that there's nothing to be afraid of because Misa we're afraid the guy's going to die. But Gerushin we're afraid he's going to get divorced. If you want to get divorced, it says cool. So you can't be afraid she's going to cause him to get divorced. He doesn't have to get divorced. He doesn't understand the whole concept. What's going on? We're afraid he's going to get divorced. Well, if he's getting divorced, he decides to get divorced. So what we're afraid that she's going to cause him, don't get divorced. It won't be a problem.
No, but maybe she got divorced twice, maybe so that she's not really marriageable.
Yeah, so but that's, even if she's not marriageable, what are we afraid of? So who cares? So
he'll get himself out of it.
He'll get divorced. That's his problem. Why are we making a takana for a guy who's getting divorced midaita? He's deciding to get divorced. It says leishayach mazel feel mazel goyim leishayach. But the kolshkin leishayach mayan, not mayan. The mayan's causing him to get divorced. So he says, Elamai, not like Rashi. So now to answer this, we are going to say over a Mori de Gezach from the this Tol Teretz, by the way, it's from the Mishnah Yisrael. Agonim Yisrael Dusowitz, Zechariah Levachah. He was very close to Rameir Simcha. He has a couple of Svarim. He has Mishnah Yisrael, he has an Al Sefer Hashabbos L'Kadshe. There's a lot of politics in the Hamoras in the 1930s. He was fighting against the Kashrus. He was a big Hanoi. And I think he was a Rav in Anshe Lubavitch when he came back to America. He's very... What do you say? I don't think he was Chabad, because his Svarim, he's all Hanoi. He's very close to that. Darius and the... I'm not sure if he himself was Chabad, but Chabad says he was Chabad, which is a right that he's not Chabad. But I think he was just a Rav over there. I'm not positive. Come on, he's a big Talmud Chacham. He has letters to Darius a lot. So he says like this. He brings down Chuvas Chasam Sefer. The Noda Biyehuda actually. Maybe it says if you have a lady who's very, very rich by her own means, and then she kills two husbands, is she allowed to get remarried a third time? She doesn't kill them, and two husbands die. So you'll say Mitzvah, of course. Where does money come into the picture? So Noda Biyehuda, if a lady's rich and her husband, two husbands dies, she's allowed to get remarried. Sounds like the Konachasnas, right? Mom, what is this? She's a Kadlanis. Who kommt da rein Geld da bichlal? So I have a fair shaloch on Shulchan Aruch. Simon Tez Sif something. The end of Simon, he says, I think he's only one Sif, so it's going to be Sif Aleph. Sif Beis actually, the last Sif. Ish Shemeisu Shtei Nashuv. If a man who both of his wives died, he's allowed to get married a third time. So the Shaila is both his wives died. The Shaila is friggin' what's Pshat? The Rosh, this is from a Rosh. The Chayra, same story, Mayon, Mazel. If he's closing her, what is this? This is Viter misogyny. We don't care if ladies die. What's going on? What's the pshat in this? So Makar, the Gra brings down a Chuvas Rosh. Zok the Rosh has a. I was reading the Gra. He says as follows. Shapirish Mazel Geirim ein Ritzoynei Loymar Sheyomus b'Mazlo. He says that you get the wrong definition of Mazel. You understand Mazel means her Mazel is she kills her husband. No, that's not the pshat. There's no such thing. There's no such thing that a person has a mazel that she kills her husband's. That's not her mazel, that's his mazel. That's Satish mit mazel b'chlal, Zok Rosh. This is he's calling a Rosh. As mazel hamizoynei shebola alidei ish. Which goes to the Paragimel the Nidim, it gets it like this. That she has a mazel, the definition of mazel is a garim, her mazel is to be poor. That's her mazel. That's the definition. Now, so she marries a husband, the husband supports her. Right, she gets money. So that her mazel of being poor forces the husband to die. That's the taich of mazel garim. To support her. Because now he can't support her anymore. No, since she has a mazel not to have money, and the husband supports her, that's going to cause him to die. So Noda Biyehuda, if she's rich, why did that cause her? Because she has a mazel not to have food. She has a mazel to be starving.
So now that she has money.
So now that but she's married. She's not starving. She has money. She has food. Right. So he has to die. So she should be hungry again. As I the Rosh, Chuvas Rosh.
So he's catching up the mazel only
Al Taniyos. As I the Rosh.
Why can't Hashem just make him poor?
Why can't Hashem just make him poor? So zokt the Noda Biyehuda. If it's brought down a Pesach Tshuva over here in the beginning of Simon Test, so if he's rich, she's rich. I mean, so there's no problem. Obviously, that's not the issue. It can't be he died because of her mazel. Mamela, like the shit of mazel geirim, she's allowed to get remarried. Now he's not going to the mayan geirim, so he's not going. I don't know if he says the lamaisa. It's some sefer. Pesach Tshuva brings out some sefer didn't want to be samech on his Noda Biyehuda. He's chaylik, but he fears always a couple of tzirufim that if someone else, there's a lot of cases that people they said I don't care it's game in Ishtan, so the Shitas Rambam he says he doesn't really hold the whole thing. He says it's all superstitious and mandal couple like abdina and everyone's chaylik because the Gemara is very makbid on it. As one of the Chazal says, "Le'achal the barabim kiyim lezesh roitz lemevet uvd ben afshei le'nachsam." You can't stop a guy that wants to do it, and he's being tired of this with a couple other stuff also. So some sefer is not masuk to be Allah Lamaisa. Al kaponim look Mishnah Yisrael. If that's the svara, so you could say the same thing when it comes to gerushin. A lady who gets divorced twice, minashamayim they'll misabev that he would have to divorce her, so she shouldn't have any money. So we're afraid that it comes to the next time, what's going to happen? Not that he's going to get divorced, because we don't let him get divorced. What's the issue? Like we said, we're afraid next time he's going to end up dying. In other words, it doesn't always work, gerushin, because in ish megarish or ritzayim, it's the same svara.
That if he wants divorced
by his will, we're afraid he's going to die. So that's Pshat Shitas Rashi.
Why would he die? Because she's poor?
To make her poor. Same thing, mazel garim. So Rashi's going with mazel garim. So that's just his Pshat. So Yisrael the Shavitz, he brings down a couple of the Pshatim, but he doesn't like them. Like he says, he doesn't read down the Gemara in Kedushin. The Gemara says,
she gets divorced.
So Mamela, if she gets divorced twice, she can't get remarried because we're afraid that she got divorced because of Mazel and it's going to kill her next husband. Now he reads out another shot that similar to what everyone was saying, that the Gemara says also the Kaddish Isha Chirena Shamin Slav Kunde Varchamam Haftar Rechamacha. I think he reads out another Gemara. The Gemara says the Kaddish Isha Manash Garshena. This felt, I don't know if you're going Haftar Rechamacha. It's not a nice thing to be Mekadesh someone on condition to divorce them.
It's going to cause hatred.
So it's the same thing. So it's not. And the Mishkas Yankiv Takan Tshuva, he says that Rashi's not mamish saying Isser. It's Ein Roy. You don't want to make chasams with people getting divorced. It's not the Hasidim. If they'd rather break an engagement, they'd rather get divorced than break an engagement. But it's not so posh. You see here that according to getting divorced, is not, you don't want to get divorced. Breaking engagement is a bad thing also, but getting divorced is also a bad thing. I think they say, people. Hasidim, they hold breaking engagement is the worst thing in the world. How do you back out of your word? Breaking tonight. But getting divorced, what's wrong? The parish is to get divorced. But it's not marrying. You see from here that it's not Pasha B'chal. Again, marrying Yisha Manas to get divorced. The Mishkas Yankiv learned Shitas Rashi that's a big problem. Look what I wanted to say. Fine. Ad Kamasula. Seizman Shmuz is Rabbi Klugman requesting. So the truth is, in our Koil, the sons of Israel, there's no such thing as Seizman. Al Tzagansi Or, B'daf Lernin, Ganze Tog. And of course, Seizman, where it's a time to have a Riffian, but there's that, yeah. So people ask me, Eitzes, what are you supposed to do? Seizman. So the